1-844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Liquor and More, with 5 locations, including South Yarmouth. Liquor and More, a proud supporter of life's memorable moments. And joining me now on the show is Curt Schilling, the former great Red Sox and Phillies and Diamondbacks pitcher. And he's now retired, former ESPN color commentator. And he's going to be starting a new show tomorrow.
Just got a new job.
That's right, you got a new job.
Boss?
Yes, on the Howie Carr radio network. He's going to be on from 9 to noon every Saturday for the starting out on the network here. And if you want to listen to him, he'll be on a few stations tomorrow. We'll give you the list, but you can listen to him online at CurtSchillingShow.com, CurtSchillingshow.com, and the backdrop will look a lot like the Howie Carr Show backdrop. And he will also be available to you can watch him on closed circuit TV on the CurtCom, which is a lot like the Howie Cam. The Curt Cam.
Mine's just younger and hipper.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Yeah, younger and hipper. That's all right. And I'm wearing a tie here, and you're wearing a T-shirt. What does your T-shirt say, Curt Schilling?
My T-shirt is a picture of Washington crossing the Delaware, and it says, "We'll kill you, America. We'll kill you in your sleep on Christmas."
That's nice. I like that. So you'll be this. So if you want to call in, we'll have a number for him, and CurtSchillingsShow.com. You can listen to him, and again, he'll be on a couple of stations, and we'll let you know. You can just go to CurtSchillingsShow.com, and you can find out where you can hear him on terrestrial radio. And the broadcast will be available all weekend. We'll just keep replaying it over and over again. So if you miss him 9 to noon, you can hear him anytime this weekend.
And you can also follow me. I'm at Garrick38 on Twitter. I'll be periscoping while I do these things. So I prefer CurtSchillingsShow.com because you can interact, you can call, and all things go with that. But I'll be periscoping as well, so people will be able to look and see wherever they're at. That's great.
If you want to ask Curt Schilling any questions here, he'll be with us this segment on the Howie Carr Show at 844-500-4242. And so you enjoying that story about David Brock?
Well, you know
not an uninterested, but a disinterested observer. That means he's neutral and impartial.
Right. Except for the fact that he... pro-Clinton super PAC guy and all the things that he did.
George Soros.
Right. I mean, this is. I'm scared that we've come to expect this. This is just okay. This is the news for today. But let's get past it and we'll go to tomorrow. Like, this will be done at the end of today because they'll give us something tonight. It's almost like they're force feeding us till we get sick of it and we just throw up.
They're treating this guy David Brock. He's demanding that Chris Wallace from Fox News Channel be taken off the third debate. He's the moderator of the third debate, but they want him off. But again, that's his right. He can say that. He can say whatever he wants. But they're treating him like he's an umpire.
Well,
it's like Kellyanne Conway saying she doesn't want Candy Crowley or Tom Friedman on the New York from the New York Times on one of these.
But we
debates.
just talked about this. You know, you and I both know exactly what they're trying to do, which is put somebody in front of Trump that will elicit a response to the moderator instead of the question, to make him look less and less politically professional as they can, which I think backfires to some degree every time they try and do that, because that's the appeal for a lot of people, is that he's not Clinton. He's not an entrenched, established guy. And I don't want to say I laughed at it, but when you listen to the other night about his answer about the Iraq War, at the end of the day, he was a private citizen. Who cares what his opinion was? She was in the trenches making the decisions. Mm-hmm. Now he's got her huge mistake and stupidity to learn from and build on, to not make those same mistakes.
Well, you notice too that she admitted it because it's a roll call vote. She can't deny it.
Right.
I mean, the proof is right there. It's incontrovertible. But then she says immediately, "I made a mistake in voting for George Bush's war."
Right.
She just puts it on George Bush totally. Like her husband was promoting the fact that Saddam Hussein had these weapons of mass destruction, and John Kerry, the current Secretary of State, voted for the war.
Well, if there would have been no vote, if her husband would have done his job, there would have been no vote. Number one, and number two, when you look at what she did and what she said the other night, she followed that up with, to me, a statement of immense stupidity, which was, we will not put more boots in the ground in the Middle East.
Yeah.
When are they going to learn not to say dumb stuff before they can actually do it?
Well, as I just pointed out, though, too, that she was wrong, too, because we already have 5,000.
Right.
Even the New York Times admitted that today. This left unanswered questions about whether, this is in the New York Times, ripping into Trump and saying, you can't have a neutral, a fair and balanced debate. This left unanswered the question of whether she had made a promise she can't keep, particularly since there are some special operations forces in both battlefields now.
Last year we signed an agreement with Afghanistan that allows us to have troops in there till 2024. People don't know that.
Yeah.
We didn't sign that agreement for giggles. We signed that because we understand.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is, most politicians, when they're asked questions like this, say, I'm not going to answer a hypothetical. For just the very reason you brought up. You can't paint yourself into a corner because you don't know what events are going to be in the future.
Well, close Guantanamo Bay, right? That was going to happen 8 years ago. What a disaster and nightmare that's turned out to be.
I know. Well, now they're reopening some of it as a hospital. I noticed that's not getting too much media attention too. Here I got a couple of stories for you here. This guy, you're going to be talking about stuff like this. Okay, what's the first headline here? Curt Schilling.
Emails detail State Department effort under Clinton to aid Walmart.
Okay, okay. So here's the same newspaper, the Washington Examiner. Here's the second headline.
Walmart's Walton family backing Clinton.
That's just a coincidence.
That has to be a coincidence.
Is it a funny coincidence, Curt, or is it a peculiar coincidence? Funny ha-ha or funny peculiar?
It's funny they think we're that stupid. They really do. I mean, this is the at the heart of the pay for play, right?
Yeah.
This is what she does. This is not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe somebody gave her money and she's going to do them a favor. This is exactly what we expect and what she expects for people that give her money.
And like 8 years ago, Walmart was the liberal boogeyman. Isn't that like the epitome of evil, greed, and capitalism in Walmart?
Well, it's like Russia. Russia was our friend. Now Russia's our terrible enemy. Remember the late mayor of Boston, Mumbles Menino? He wouldn't allow a Walmart to open in Jamaica Plain because they treated their employees so badly and they were putting all the bodegas out of business. Same thing with former mayor of Chicago, Richard Daley. He wouldn't allow them to open. And you know what that meant? They just went right over the border and on the south side, and so all these suburban communities got a big goose of their tax base, and people had to travel far from the city to buy goods at a lower price.
And this conversation takes another step when you look at all the people that I don't know how people can say this, but they're professing that the economy is strong and everything's great, and the fact that Walmart's eliminating an enormous number of their stores countrywide.
Yeah.
That's a massive, they're doing so because the economy isn't okay and things aren't okay, but you don't read that anywhere, anything associated with this. This is just, hey, email detail State Department effort under Clinton to aid Walmart.
Yeah, they're cutting 7,000 jobs according to the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, they're cutting even more jobs than Wells Fargo. But at least Wells Fargo had a reason for cutting their jobs because these people the employees were cheating the customers.
Well, part of it too is this national minimum wage thing. Yes, it doesn't go into effect today, but these are companies that have stockholders. They have a fiduciary responsibility to provide a profit to their shareholders to the best of their ability. If you're going to make me spend more on my employees, I'm going to have fewer employees, and I'm going to keep my revenue, or I'm going to pass the buck on to the customer. Same thing with the fast food industry.
Oh, I know. Well, the fast food industry, they're already, that guy that runs Hardee's and Carl's Jr., he's already been talking about this. He said, I'm already trying to automate all of my fast food restaurants, but now it's just going to, I'm just going to have to do it faster because I can't afford to do it. And this is on top of the Obamacare edicts, which say, if somebody works more than 29 and a half hours, you have to give them this medical coverage. So guess what, Curt? You know what's happening.
Well, everybody's working 28 hours.
Right.
Which is exactly what we said was going to happen. We continually say, and by we, I mean the rational thinking conservative Americans continue to say, Obamacare is going to do A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. None of those things are good. You can't be denied health care in this country. Can we just get that on the table? If you go into the hospital and you're ill and you're dying, they can't refuse you
There's
care.
a court decision. There are multiple court decisions.
Right. Now, do we agree that it would be much more beneficial for the impoverished people below the poverty line to have consistent, manageable health care? Yes. Yes. Let's figure out a system to do that. The system in place is going to, well, you're seeing, right? The big providers are backing away. They're going away.
Right. We had the former Lieutenant Governor of New York, Betsy McCoy. She writes for New York Post sometimes, and she's talking. She says eliminate the what. Again, I always forget the name of it.
It's the shared responsibility fee.
It's not a tax. It's not a tax. It's not a fine. It's the shared responsibility fee. So there's millions of people now, especially younger people, don't make a lot of money, are paying this thing because they'd rather pay $1,000 as a fine rather than pay like $8,000 or $10,000 for a health insurance plan that they can't use anyway because the deductibles are too high.
Well, and I
mean, they're screwed one way or the other. Talk about being between a rock and a hard place.
That was where the Obama administration was counting on all of that new revenue from the young insurance payer to provide for these seniors that were going to crush the system.
Right.
And it didn't happen. Okay, it didn't happen. It's broke. It's not going to work. Let's fix it. Nope. We're just going to continue to tell you that A, Obamacare is working. B, if the press would stop talking about terrorism, it would go away. And C, everything's good. Listen, like the Democratic National Convention was all about how great the world is.
Right. And every time there's a new jolt of bad economic news, we have to read headlines that say the economy unexpectedly took a turn for the unexpected. I mean, when it unexpectedly takes a turn for the worst, 30 times in a row, can it really still be unexpected?
The 4 words I love right now: grew less than expected.
Yeah.
That's like the deficit being less than expected. It's still a deficit.
I love it when Obama comes out there. I've cut the deficit more than any other president. Really?
But I've actually added more to the national debt than every other president combined.
That's because I got it up to $2 trillion a year. So now I've cut it down to $500 billion. So nobody else has ever come near cutting the deficit by $1.5 trillion. Arthur, you're next with Howie Carr and Curt Schilling, who you'll be able to hear tomorrow at CurtSchillingShow.com, CurtSchillingShow.com. Go ahead, Arthur.
You know, in the movie Goodfellas, remember when they took over the Chinese restaurant and then they turned around and spent and borrowed and busted the joint out?
Yeah.
That reminds me of what Obama has done to this country, because he spent more money on God knows what over his 8 years, and he's busted out our country.
And now that this election, they're getting ready to set fire to it.
Yeah.
And burn it down and take the insurance.
Yeah.
But the only difference is, Arthur, once they busted out the restaurant and they torched it, they didn't come back. Hillary Clinton is promising to come back and do a drive-by on the ruins starting in 2017.
Well, there might be a few chicken wings left, and she doesn't want to leave them behind. Like when they left the White House. But you know something, Howie? When he first was running for president, his wife said, "Well, for the first time in my life, I'm proud of my country. When the country was great. Okay, now he's busted out the country, and the country's in shambles, and he's going around the world saying what a great country we are now." I
know, but we're lazy, Arthur. Don't forget we're very lazy. Thanks for the call. Hey, listen, Curt, remember when the Red Sox won the World Series and Theo decided not to go to the ceremony, and it was like not a big deal, just one of those things. But then when the Bruins won the Stanley Cup, you know where I'm going with this. And Tim Thomas, the goalie, said, "I don't want to go to the." And that was, he was a horrible person, right? Remember that?
Yep.
So 207 wants to know if you can get Tim Thomas on the show at some point.
I will shoot to get Tim Thomas on the show. I love Timmy. I love people, and they can be on both sides that have the backbone to stand up for something they believe in, and the conviction to be smart about that something. Not blind. I don't want blind followers. Nobody does. That doesn't help anybody. But an educated audience and an educated following, and honestly, it gets back to the reason why I think I chose to be become partners here and work with you and for you is I want to be a part of this conversation. They're not people aren't educating themselves on actually what they're letting the media tell them and drive the narrative. And I think that the media's given away all pretenses of let's be objective. Walter Cronkite doesn't exist anymore.
He never did. Well, the Walter Cronkite legend never existed.
Well, yeah.
You know that.
They never do.
Yeah. Okay, so here it's CurtSchillingShow.com, CurtSchillingShow.com. If you want to listen to Curt tomorrow at 9 to noon on his new show, and he'll be and you can watch him on the Curt Cam, and you can also see that at CurtSchillingShow.com. You got any surprises planned?
I do. I want to talk. Well, Sunday's the 15th anniversary of I hate to say anniversary. 15th commemoration of 9/11, and I think that we need to continue to. The thing that blows me away. 15 years ago, and I was an athlete at that time, you saw athletes crying while they stood for the national anthem. 15 years later, you've got teams that are going to sit for that same song.
Yeah.
That's how far we've come.
Curt, will you do me a favor when you talk about the 9/11? Don't call it a tragedy.
Oh, okay. I need what
call
is
it an atrocity.
Okay, all right.
Call it a terror attack.
Well, I
but
thought
it's
we were
not
going to call it
it's not
workplace violence or something.
Just don't call it a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want. Like a tragedy is a hurricane,
Right.
or
I
a
mean,
tornado.
There were more casualties on 9/11 than there were December 7th, 1941.
Yeah. Curt, we look forward to listening to you tomorrow at 9 to noon. CurtSchillingShow.com, CurtSchillingShow.com. And you'll be on a lot of stations as the weeks go by. But tomorrow, the best place to get him is CurtSchillingShow.com. And I think WFEA in Manchester.
We're gonna shake it up, Howie.
I hope so. I'm Howie Carr.
Howie Carr. You can trust him. He's not like the others.